Alright, so let's get started. I've been playing Granblue Versus since it came out, and until Zoe came out, I didn't really know who to pick, and then after a while, I finally landed on Zoe because she's super fun. She has a lot of technicality to her, and I kind of wanted to share a lot of my learnings in this guide, right? So first of all, guys, say hi to YouTube. I'll put this on YouTube after it's edited and all that, just so it's a little more condensed and people can find it easier. I made a presentation to go with this, so check it out. I put the link in the Twitch chat. I'll put in the description below. But let's talk about why play Zoe, right? This is in season 2, right? She's a fun character with a variety of options to play around, and she's like easy to play, hard to master characters. And if you want someone with a lot of depth, she's probably your character, right? She has one of the highest skill ceilings of Granblue because she has a lot of labbing, a lot of like technical or frame perfect or 2-frame stuff that she can do that really brings out the potential in the character. And she also has a lot of options, so if you like a character with a lot of options and resource management, she might also be up your alley. She's more offense oriented, and she also has strong neutral, so if you like offense, neutral, and you're confident in playing defense against some of these characters that can be a little oppressive, she might be a pretty good fit for you. So some of the pros: she has many different pressure options, and it's very tough for the opponent to understand all the layers of pressure, right? And we'll kind of go into some of that, but you're always leaving the opponent guessing because she has so many different ways she can force her mix-up or extend pressure. Her neutral is really strong, so she has far-reaching buttons and specials that help navigate neutral, and she can anti-zone people. Let's say Belial, for example, she has really good ways of getting around his fireball that other characters don't have. She also has a really good anti-air that you can kind of just autopilot. Her EXDP and her 2H are both really strong, and so she probably has one of the best anti-air games in the game. And she has good mix-up that loops into herself. Pretty much any knockdown she gets strong Oki, whether it's a DP save crouch light or a Sea Dragon setup or anything in between. Everything kind of flows naturally. Even her just basic Rekka Ender, you always get a close light Oki situation. So some of her cons, she has terrible defense, right? So she has no invulnerable move or armor move. Technically your EXDP has invul, but it's not reliable. Like, you wouldn't use it in the middle of a block string unless you think something slow is coming out. A lot of her mix-up, I don't want to say it's fake, but it can be mitigated by fuzzy timings. And what that means is, like, for example, her throw mix-up, you can do a delayed throw and it'll tech the throw, and if they don't throw, your throw input won't come out because you'll be blocking the laser. There's a lot of like neat little tricks you can do to mitigate her mix-up. And of course, if you can react to overhead, that's another layer that kind of takes away from her. Some of her moves like EXDP and the Air Lightning, which are really good, but they're also risky if the opponent expects it, and then they can counter it pretty easily. Well, some characters can counter Air Lightning, others can't, but everyone can counter EXDP. And she also requires a lot of lab time. So for example, if you need to figure out like what setup is best to do on this character's knockdown, that takes time to learn. Her fuzzy setup, which kind of elevates her mix-up to the unreactable level, it's really hard to practice and takes a lot of time to master because you're essentially doing a 2-frame link, and it's a very delayed 2-frame link, so it can be pretty tough. So you do require a lot of lab time up there. So let's talk about key normal special moves. 5L, 2L, they're both pretty standard. Her 2L hits low. If you're gonna meaty something with a DP, make sure you use 2L because the 2L has less recovery than the 5L. 5L, the only reason you'd use it is it's 1 frame faster, so it's better for mashing. And also it pushes them back slightly less, so it allows a little trickier block strings. Her 5M is just your standard 5M. You can kind of do like stagger pressure with this. It does combo onto itself on counter hit, so that is something you can do. So you can do like this, and then even combos into crouching medium, and you can react to that, right? So let me show you. This is random block. And see, I just reacted to that, and that makes a pretty good pressure string, but they can mash a quick 5L in between. So you do have to be a little careful about that. Her 2M, it's just a far-reaching poke. It's really good. It's 1 frame faster than her stand medium. So her far stand medium, it goes a little bit further, but the crouch medium is a little bit faster, right? So you kind of just want to mix up the two. Stand medium is better in neutral. Crouch medium is better in pressure because it's faster. they're pretty interchangeable, right? Her close 5H, it's pretty good. The cool thing about it is you do get a combo on counter hit, but she can actually 5U cancel and be a little more frame advantage, and you get a little more meter. So that's pretty cool. You can also do 5H, 236M. That's really good too, right? And we'll cover when to use that in pressure, that sort of thing. But you get a full combo from that in the corner, which leads into big board damage. Right? You kind of get the idea. 2Hs are anti-air, it's really strong, right? It hits really high up compared to a lot of 2Hs. So even like from like up here, it will reach where a lot of characters don't reach, right? So take for example, Percy Jump U or the Belial Stomp. Unless he does a like max height, this is gonna hit him. I mean, you see how high that sword goes, and it's pretty accurate to its actual hitbox. It even hits a little bit behind her. Far 5H, I don't like to use that much, but I know a couple other Zoes like Apple do it. It obviously has heavy priority, but it doesn't go as far as 5M or 2M. See, like that. It does always combo into medium Rekka. So if you are like looking for something consistent that always works, 5H does work there and it crushes other buttons, so it does have some purpose. I also like to do like a 5H cancel here because you get more frame advantage and it helps you set up lightning. But other than that, I really don't use far 5H that much. I kind of rely on 2M, 5M unless I'm like trying to crush something like a specific medium button. Her 2U is pretty interesting. It can low profile things. You can low profile most fireballs in the game too. So you see how I have to block that? But one of the cool things you can do, if you're spaced right, you can low profile the Rekka. And you can also low profile this too. That you might think that was a spacing thing, but let me show you close. See? And so it low profiles a lot of different things. I think you can low profile Belial's fireball too. Yeah. So that's an example, right? I wouldn't do that, right? Because usually it's just better to dodge or roll. But just to show you, it can low profile a lot of things in this game. So Jump U is this weird move that like kind of kicks them out. And mid screen, I pretty much never do this, right? Because you can't like get the best confirm. I mean, you can get something like that, but then EX Rekka might whip, or if you're slow, you get that, where you can just do Jump H and then kind of easily confirm like this. But in the corner, you get a wall bounce on counter hit. You have all day to confirm that. Here, I'll do random guard and I'll do Jump H, and that's really hard to hit confirm. Like, I could kind of do it, but this is offline. See, like, I fucked up there. But if you do Jump U, it's a lot easier to hit confirm. See? Like, I'm doing this really consistently. If it's on block, you don't have to commit to something. You can just shimmy or, like, do something like that. And then other than that, I just use Jump U for combos or, like, air to air. So Jump L, it's active the whole time. It's basically like any air Jump L. It can fuzzy, so a lot of characters on the way up, it'll hit. It doesn't hit Lance because he's on the short side, but the majority of the cast that is taller, it will hit them on the way up. And there's some cool setups you can do with that. Jump mediums to cross up has a pretty good hitbox. You see I kind of like didn't even space it right there and it's still crossed up. So it's one of the better cross ups in the game, but it is only a medium, so it can lose out sometimes. Her Jump H, it's like your deep jump in. I usually use it for like safe jumps, like in the corner because you can't roll it. So something like that, it's pretty good. Oh yeah, so let's talk about special moves, right? So first, special moves for Rekka. You're mainly gonna be using the light version. Any combo from lights is gonna use the light Rekka. The cool thing about the light Rekka, or any Rekka, right? It has a follow-up. So you can kind of like do like a sort of frame trap. So if they're mashing, you can catch them with the second hit. So you get this little mind game going on that's not really in your favor when they block Rekka, but it makes it good enough that you want to still do Rekka. So like normally they're gonna stick out a button to check you because this is safe, right? It's only like punishable if you're point blank. You can see how that's punishable right there if it's on its first frame. But if you do something like this, yeah, like this, you're normally gonna end up like this, right? After you do a normal, and it's gonna be safe. So if you want them to stop checking you, you can cancel into the second hit. But yeah, it's usually safe against a lot of characters, including Belial. And you see how he can't really reach And if you start doing something like this, and they're just the first hit and they respect it, then you can kind of build in additional mix-up layers. You do get the same thing going off medium Rekka, but the only times I'd really use medium Rekka is if you know it's going to counter hit. This combo's only on counter hit, right? This combo is only on counter hit. So if you're kind of like fishing like at this range, light Rekka is going to whiff because it doesn't go far enough, so you do need to use medium Rekka. Most likely it'll be a counter hit anyway, so you can do that. Or you can just use EX if you're like buffering, because if they get hit at this range, most likely it's going to hit. That's usually what I do. The cool thing about EX Rekka is you do get a knockdown, which leads to Sea Dragon mix-up. Which leads into a bunch more damage, right? So it's kind of your call whether you want to like spend EX on a non-confirmed hit or not. Generally, if you get the hit, you always want to confirm an EX, like if you can hit confirm it. If you're not sure whether it's going to hit, I generally like to not use the EX. Oh yeah, so let's talk about Dragon. Alright, this is going to be the hardest one to talk about. So for you guys that don't know how Dragon works, I mean, every time you do a Dragon move, it takes a little bit of bar right under her special bar, right? The A version doesn't really use that much bar. Yeah, you can do 5 of them for half a bar, so that means a full bar you get 10. For medium, you get 3, and there's Sea Dragon, you actually only get 2. If you want more Dragon meter, you can always press 5U. One kind of overlooked thing is that if you have the Dragon out already, you gain half as much meter when you press 5U. So you see how fast that charges up compared to throwing the Dragon, and you see it's a lot slower. Generally, you want to prioritize 5U when the Dragon's not out, so you're starting with a full Dragon bar. Another way to optimize the Dragon usage is, for example, if I'm like at this range, a Dragon, I typically want to do Sea Dragon because I'm getting like max speed value. It still takes the rest of your bar compared to an A Dragon. If you're right here, do you want to do a Sea Dragon? Well, probably not, because it's going to take your whole bar, right? You probably can do like a couple A Dragons, and then you can do a Sea Dragon. So just try to like think about how to maximize as much Dragon as you get, just so you can keep it out for a bit longer. A Dragon is generally used for Zoing, like if you want to pressure them into jumping. Like if they're not jumping at all and they're just trying to play this like back and forth whiff game, like you could throw an A Dragon, kind of catch them out. Generally, you don't want to rely on it too much, because at this distance, they can dodge pretty easily, and then you kind of just lost Dragon meter, and you're risking getting jumped on, because it has a decent amount of recovery. Where I do like it a bit more is at about this range in the corner, so you can do like a block spring to push you out. And if you do it at the right distance, like let's say the tip of far L, it's tough to set up in your training though. But yeah, you see it like this range, you can get a combo on counter hit. So like if they're trying to mash because they think a M Dragon is coming out or something, or a Sea Dragon, you just throw this out and you get a full combo. And actually in the corner, you can confirm an EX Rekka, and that's a lot of damage, right? So it takes about 12 seconds for the Dragon to come back. I personally, like, I'm okay using up all the Dragon meter. The only times I wouldn't spend it all right away is like if they're about to die, like if they're one mix up away from dying, then I'll try to conserve it just so I can use it for that last mix up, if that makes sense. But if it's like you still got half a game ahead of you, like you might as well just use it all, because you're gonna get it back. The game's gonna last a little longer than 12 seconds. But I generally don't think it's like worth just like hanging on to a pixel of Dragon meter, because you're gonna lose eventually, whether you do one extra Dragon move or they jump on you and you get hit, and now it's taking that much longer for your Dragon meter to come back. You do lose Dragon meter if you get hit, but it's not that much actually. In 2.0 it's less. You only lose Dragon meter if you actually have your Dragon out. So the reason you didn't lose Dragon meter there was because the Dragon wasn't out. But yeah, see there, she lost like a tiny chunk, and so she doesn't really lose that much, unlike before, which is kind of a gift, because if you successfully guess on defense, you still have Dragon meter to play with. But it's kind of cursed, because like if they're continually rushing you down and they continually knock you down, at the end of your offense when you get out, you could be left with no Dragon meter on recovery, and it's hard to make that comeback. Yeah, sometimes it is better to get rid of the Dragon meter just because it is slow to charge otherwise. Like I said, if you have like a full game ahead of you, you might as well just burn the Dragon. But you don't want to waste your Dragon. Like you just don't want to throw it out in neutral. Like throwing a Sea Dragon from like this range isn't gonna do shit, right? because the beam doesn't even hit that far. If you have like a value add opportunity where it's like, okay, I know M Dragon's gonna hit if I do it right here, then do the M Dragon, right? So the cool thing about B Dragon is on normal hit, you don't really get anything outside the corner, but on counter hit, it's pretty easy to hit confirm. You just do a dash up 2M and then EX Rekka, and you get really good damage from that. Let's say you get a counter hit 5H, you can actually confirm it into SSBA. The SSBA will reach you, and it does pretty good damage. Actually, they buffed the SSBA. Now that I think about it, you can get SSBA from pretty far. Yeah, that's pretty good, right? So if you do have SSBA, you'd probably want to prioritize M Dragon a little bit more mid screen. Yeah, that's a good point, Omega. So you don't want to spawn the dragon right away. The timing on the first dragon matters a lot more than the timing on all the other dragons. Because once you get the first dragon out, like you kind of just spend your meter. Before the first dragon, you don't lose it if you get knocked down, and you gain double the meter when you press 5U. So you want to be really, like, if you're going to focus your efforts on meter management anywhere, it should be on when you cast the first dragon. We'll talk about Sea Dragon Oki in the next section. So Thunder, you can do it in the ground and the air. The cool thing about Thunder, right, you can hold it in. I think ground lightning, just doing it like here, is kind of bad. It's more of just to like bait someone from doing something. If you want to hold it, I recommend just holding the special button. You can technically hold L if you do L lightning, but why do you want to hold the special button? So let's say you do 2-2-L, and then I hit the special button. You still get, it doesn't count as a special input, but now you can do jab. So you can do like run up jab and that kind of thing while you still have the lightning out. Air lightning's pretty good. Generally you want to kind of like do a reaction to stuff, or like you're trying to bait like an anti-air. So for example, like I'm Belial and I see you jump in and I press a 2H. Like I can bait it with air lightning and then get the knockdown. I mean, EX is basically the same as like normal, except it goes a little bit wider and you get a knockdown from it. The knockdown is really good because assuming you time your dash right, you get enough time to dash up and do a meaty 2L. You make a good guess in neutral and you get to start your game. The bad thing about this is you can dodge the lightning, and then they can kind of run up and punish. And so that wasn't a punish, but I think you guys get the idea. Yeah, that was a punish, right? So if you do it at a bad range and the opponent's really looking out, or they predict that the lightning's coming, then you're gonna get punished. So you need to be careful. You can't just keep spamming lightning. Also, this is like minus on block. It's actually minus on hit, right? Obviously they can't punish it from this range, but it's just something to keep in mind, is that like if you hit something like here, don't expect to be able to press your range for free. Alright, so let's talk about DP. I think your DPs actually probably are worse special. One thing to keep in mind is that late DP is -2 on block, so you don't really want to throw it out that much, but they did make it a bit quicker. And if you're looking to like 2H, it kind of throws people off because it hits really fast, right? Like you can still 2H it, but it's tougher to do on reaction. Like it can kind of beat it because it's a lot harder to react to than something like this. You see how much like earlier I had to do it in Belial's jump so the 2H would connect? The late DPs to kind of like bait out the 2H, you might be able to counter hit it. The MDP, I don't think it's really that useful, but it's just kind of like mess with your opponents and give something else. She doesn't flash yellow when you do it, so it can kind of throw them off, but you don't get a combo and you're taking a huge risk. So I don't recommend doing MDP, and EXDP you always get a combo. I recommend just always doing 2L, 5L. It's super consistent, especially in Season 2, and 2L's like your pressure starter, so you can kind of confirm it from there. So how I like to think of it is like if you play enough Zoe, you can kind of figure out like when your opponent's looking for the EXDP. Like if they're just like sitting there in neutral, you're probably like, okay, the opponent's probably thinking EXDP is coming, and then you don't use it, right? You always want to do EXDP at like unexpected times. Alright, so combos. She doesn't have actually like that many combos, at least if you're trying to play her at like intermediate level, but let's go through them real quick. So mid screen, it's basically just 5L, 2L, 5L into Rekka, can do EH Rekka too, you get the hard knockdown there. On Crouch in Season 2, you actually get a combo as well. You don't have to confirm in the 5L. So you can do something like, even like 3-2Ls, which is not possible before. That combo that gives you you know, corner carry or Oki situation. The other cool combo she got in Season 2 was on counter hit, this link. This is really good, like if you're trying to mash on pressure and stay crouching, or if you're like at this range and you want to catch a poke, that's usually your go-to. This also works 2L into 5M, but that only works on crouch. So generally it's better to go 2L into 2M. I recommend going into EX wherever possible, just so you get the extra corner carry. I mean, compare the corner carry of that to like, see, it's a lot of difference, and once they're in the corner, you don't necessarily need the EX Rekka right away, because you can pressure, or you can hit them with a 236M, and those combos don't require having Rekka available. If you are close to the corner, you just do those same starters, but you end in 6X, so the Rekka follow-up, instead of doing the low, you do the one where she goes forward. So what that looks like, and you see you kind of get like a weird setup like that, and if they're even closer, you get a full combo, right? So you kind of have to know that distance at when you can do a 5L, when you can do a close medium. How much extra damage is that? Like more than 1k extra damage, and you get more cooldown back on your Rekka. It's always worth going for if you're close to the corner. There are some cool variants you can do after the EX Rekka hits in the corner. So for example, you can do like a 2L 5L, or you can do a 2L 5MM. I generally just recommend 5MM, but there's some like cool advanced setups you can do with like 2L 5L or 2L 5M that kind of like push them back a little bit more. So for an anti-air combo, you just do 2H 5U, so that charge cancels the 2H and you get a little bit of extra frame advantage to play around with. Do dash forward 5H, EX Rekka, and you get a little over 3k for doing anti-air. It's really strong. There's some other stuff you can do, like you can do EXDP, and that also works on non-counter hit. A little over 2k for not hit. That's pretty consistent. It works on counter hit and on counter hit, so you can pretty easily autopilot it. You can also do the swag combo from this. Yeah, so pretty cool. And that used to be very hard back in Season 1, but they made it a lot easier in Season 2. And you can do something like this, which is pretty dope. So if you ever get in the corner, confirm it to 266M, and you're gonna do big boy damage. The normal version I think does... Actually probably doesn't even do that much more damage, and it saves you Dragon Meter. But it's a pretty cool combo. And it's like it'll demoralize them, yeah. Oh shit. The normal version actually does more. But you don't get the swag, so don't do that. She does have a couple other corner specific combos. 5H236M works, and you get a full combo. Only works on counter hit though. So if you're like trying to frame trap them, or you think a button's coming out, or you think they're gonna like do a delayed button for whatever reason, that's your string. Go into EX Rekka, and you get a super. And it's one of her most damaging combos, and it's off a pretty optimal starter. And the other cool thing about this is you're like plus 14 on block if they block this. But yeah, you're at such frame advantage here that you can pretty much do like a dash up throw or a dash up 2L or whatever you want, right? It's a pressure starter and a combo starter. It's really good. Definitely do 5H236M. The other combo that I think all Zoe should learn in the corner is this one right here, the 236C 2L. So after a Sea Dragon, she can cycle her cooldowns. Let's say you get the knockdown and all you do is 2L universal overhead and you can keep looping into each other. And you see how you get your EX Rekka cooldown back? And you can just keep doing it. you get all the cooldowns back right when you need them. All right, so Oki guide. So after you get the hit, what do you do? So basically after any knockdown, you can get a safe 2L against characters. And see, that would have hit if they didn't DP, but because he DP'd, I got to block it and then I get full punish, right? So on Oki, that's pretty much what you want to go for most things. EX Rekka, you can go for like a Sea Dragon into a safe DP setup. Sometimes like characters can DP, so you want to do like spot dodge and then you get full punish. So DP is not the best thing. Or you can like do a super jump over, that gives you a full punish too. You can do EX DP, like let's say you don't have access to EX Rekka, you can like intercom with EX DP. You can do a safe jump like that, which isn't really safe jump, but that 2L hits safe. You can also safe jump, like you do a slight delay jump there. You can also cross up, which let's say you're in the corner and you want to get out of the corner. That's a safe jump as well. You just kind of do like a delayed super jump. So on back throw, you do get a meaty 2L. But forward throw, you don't, because she throws you so far that like, see how long it takes you to dash up there? But you can check them with a 5M. And if you think they're gonna mash or jump or something, you can do like 5M in the Rekka or whatever you want, right? There's obviously many other layers to the Oki, but just focus on the basics, right? I would cover matchups, but I've covered everything already in this YouTube video here. But that's like an hour and 40 minutes of matchup information. I'm not going to cover that again. This is the matchup chart. It's pretty cool, but the idea is that pretty much every matchup for Zoe is winnable. I think she's like mid-high tier this patch, and she can beat everyone, including Belial. I actually think Vaseraga is her hardest matchup right now, just because of the way their tools interact in neutral, but even Vaseraga is winnable. And there's some other characters, like anyone with the command throws, usually pretty hard to deal with because she doesn't have a DP to get out of some mix-ups, or like characters with really strong pressure. But in general, like she goes about 5-5 with most of the cast. Yeah, in 2.0, the main thing that changed is like shows got easier because Fireballs got nerfed, DPs got nerfed. Zoe got a little bit better. Matchups like Luane got stronger than Zoe in this patch, or Beelzebub, so those matchups got a little bit worse, but Zoe won this before, so now they're like even. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty similar, honestly. It didn't change too much in 2.0, so not much to cover. How to fight Zoe, the quick overview is whenever Sea Dragon's out, hold the black button. Actually, let me show you real quick. So she can do a lot of cool mix-ups, like Sea Dragon, and you could cross over and then cross over again, or she could do like shit like this and then cross over. You're not gonna block that in reaction. Make sure you hold the block button. Don't worry about where it's gonna hit, right? The other thing about Sea Dragon is that the overhead only hits at a specific time, so you only really need to block overhead in order to get a full combo. Like no Zoe's gonna do this, right? Because you don't get a full combo. The timing's like right in between the lasers, so make sure you're blocking overhead during then and don't really focus at blocking overhead during the other times, right? She can do stuff like 2L and then like kind of fuzzy or timing like that, so you don't always want to fuzzy it, but if you're specifically looking for the overhead there, it's a lot easier to deal with. If you dodge the A dragon neutral, she can't do another dragon move right away. So like it takes a little bit of time for it to come back, and you lose dragon meter, so definitely be careful of that. The other thing that a lot of Zoes get away with, she's -2 there, and she does not have a DP to punish you for pressing a button, so make sure you press after this, right? There's no reason I should be getting away with that, but I do a lot. Other than that, make sure you look at the cooldowns. They influence your pressure, neutral a lot, and your reaction. So take for example, let's say I do EX Lightning and it's on cooldown. If I jump at you, that's a free 2H now, because my EX Lightning's on cooldown. I can't anti-air bait you. And you'd be surprised at the number of people that like try to do a preemptive dodge when Lightning's on cooldown. Same thing with DP, like if EX DP is on cooldown, you don't have to look for a neutral, right? Just some things to consider. If you want to learn more about Zoe, obviously follow my Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, whatever. I mean, I post guides like this, or you guys can check my gameplay out on my Twitch. Apple4U is the, I'd say, other really strong Zoe in America, so definitely check her Twitter out here. And then I would recommend this Zoe in Japan, Minami. I think he's the first master originally, and then first master in season 2. I could be completely wrong about that, but he's the most well-known Zoe player over there. And there's a couple others like Cross, and I think this guy's name's like Catch It or something. I can't pronounce their names, so definitely check them out. Yeah, Pump, I get you, man. COVID, stressful times. Just make sure you take care of yourself, man. Yeah, I mean, it's everything, right? I get you. That or Belial. Hey, it might be Belial. I get you. Everyone's stressed about Belial. You just gotta wait. You just gotta expect the patch to come. Just believe Arxis will do the right thing.